You're good to go.
Good to go? All right, 9:05, can we call this meeting to order? All right, we have everybody here. Welcome to our second executive committee meeting here this fall after the surrounding budget. We do have a lot to cover today. I first wanted to just apologize for an extremely long packet. It's a little out of order in concerns to like what we're going to talk about. I have all the pages like organized out. So as I'm talking, I'll let you know what page like we're kind of referring to. But yeah, and then the only other thing, and I asked Erin about this, the public comment period. I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that, but that's something new that I did not add, but it's now required. Is that right?
Yeah, I can speak to it. It's actually was something that we didn't realize wasn't on your agendas and should have been for the past several years, actually. Kate, you probably remember, but council passed a resolution that required that any of our boards and committees have an opportunity for public comment from anybody who would be interested in speaking to that committee. So most of the time at these types of meetings, it's not used, but it has to be on the agenda.
Okay. So, right, so that's what that's there for. We didn't anticipate a long line of people showing up, but we were prepared, right, Erin? Okay, so we'll just move on. Yeah, we have a lot of actions to kind of make today, so I think we're gonna have enough to discuss, and I'll try to be mindful of time and get us out of here at a good time, but let's get to all the talking points. So first of all, does everybody know everybody in the room here? I don't think we have any new faces, but I just want to say thanks for coming. We'll get to Julia, but she is here to just answer any questions that we might have to, so I'm glad you can make it. And Leah, for arcing needs, I'm glad you can make it.
That's Janessa. She's an attorney.
Yes, we've met Nikki.
Who's Leah?
She's our engineering.
Okay.
I was like,
Wait, that's what her hair down. That's probably
what it is. Okay, well, thank you anyway. Because we do have some discussion with some legal items with operating plan and whatever.
And can I just introduce Kate as
Yes.
so everyone knows why she's here. So as everyone knows, Matt's leaving, and so we split his position into two parts. Kate has accepted the job as our strategic and civic communications coordinator. So primarily she will be a point of contact for all of the bid directors as well as bid businesses, and focus more on kind of how Becky interacts with both the city and the bid. So I can focus on some other stuff, and then yeah, so she started last weekish. Mondays and Tuesdays are her office days because she's a business owner, but we have a new email that you guys will start seeing called civic@downtownoclair.org, and that will have Kate and my eyes on it. And that will be kind of the one we circulate so that people have open contact.
And I had a note here too. That's like when we do want to contact Becky, that should be an email that we now use.
I would say for bid related things, if you want to contact Becky about events or just other fun happenings, but anything that deals primarily with the bid or city, we'd like Kate to kind of be the first one to get that information, and then help maybe offset some of the correspondence that you need to go back and forth with the city so we can streamline it. She knows a lot of people here, has a lot of connections, and probably will be able to get answers maybe a little bit easier. And then we can share it out with you so that we're not, all spending all our time doing the same thing.
Right.
Just part-time, about 15 to 20 hours a week as needed, so.
And then you hired someone else with volume, so.
Yeah, and she is roughly 25 hours a week, and she'll be working every day. So only have bid business on Mondays and Tuesdays. She'll be making bid meetings as she can. So like if she didn't attend Water Street, even though it's not one of those days, she will. So.
And we can get further into that. We got a whole
Oh, Kate is that actually.
Oh.
Her name is Brandy McQueen. You'll probably meet her soon, but again, she's definitely more on the event side and admin support for me.
You're gonna send over a class with the new hires.
Going out this Friday, we just took some headshots yesterday. Bios are drafted.
Perfect. All right, guys. So let's move right along. Previous meeting minutes. If y'all had a chance, that is just page 2 to keep this nice and organized.
Can I bring up a source? There's no 30 minutes.
Sure.
To get a packet at 7 p.m. the night before a meeting is just so not acceptable. I mean, I don't know why we have to wait so long for the information.
Can I speak to that actually?
Sure.
It's positive. I'll leave the rose to your phone question. Actually, Kate, Erin and I met yesterday and kind of talked about Kate's new role and how Erin is doing quite a bit of work in his position, outside of the biz. And so there's just simply not enough time. So what we're gonna do moving forward is really help, move that ball along and get packet material kind of prepped and ready, so he can put final eyes on it and get it earlier. So our goal would be a minimum of 3 days before the meeting and hopefully earlier. So starting with the next South Marshall School Board meeting, that's like the first time that we'll really be doing that, so.
And to be fair, I do submit these things a week out, and some things don't happen before the weekend, so it's not for sake of all things off or anything. This one in particular, I was waiting on some information, so I probably got the packet way too late, but that's not always the case.
I would ask you to turn your finger on this before, when you email Aaron the agenda, can you just email the exec?
I did this time.
You didn't
Well, I sent you the information.
text it.
Is there?
Yes, there's a big difference. There's a big difference.
All right,
You can-
I don't
you
want to
can
go
search
any
and
further.
email.
Okay, great. So we're moving along. Previous meeting minutes. Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks, Steve. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I-
Any opposed? Great. Moving on, current financials. There should be 2 steps, I believe, at current, and then there are pages 3 through 6, if you guys are looking at it on your computer. We have historical summary, and then we have current financials.
Guess I kind of had a question, not particularly on this one, but going into the future. When we look at DECI, item 6716 and 6734, I get they're kind of balancing each other out, but how would that be structured in the future?
So you guys in your budget put 20,000 towards, well, 25,000 towards sponsorship, 5, assuming you'll continue to sponsor sculpture tour, and then 20 to sponsor in general DECI's activities like events and programs that we run in the downtown. So that's very similar to what North Barstow has set up for next year. And then the other 20,000 would potentially be for supportive services if you so choose to use us in that way. This year, just a reminder, because maybe you're just seeing how it's a little skewed. There was just some issues with finalizing our temporary service agreement. So you, as a board, decided to just kind of quit that in May. And so the remaining monies that you wanted to use for supportive services, you decided to transition to a sponsorship for events. So these numbers are different than next year, all totaling the 40,000, which is then your typical annual contribution.
I did have a question on water service. I think we brought this up one other time, that it looks like we are, am I right? Are we in the negative, that 187.26, an additional water charge that we hadn't seen in years past? We've always had stormwater, but there's a new water service one. I don't know if we ever got an answer to that one. Can we speak to that?
Yeah, in the past, it used to only be stormwater, so this is new to this year.
So now
you
we're-
asked like 2 meetings ago about it, but.
That wasn't, we didn't budget for that, that's just been added in.
Yeah.
By whom?
I don't know when that got added. It started showing up this.
Because we never paid that before, that's a city question.
Who would we direct that to? I probably don't need to go to utilities, but it'd be accounting or.
It's probably accounts payable, yeah, financial ops. Maybe, or-
I'm sure that should be there.
I know we tried, with utilities and they said that it was,
Part of the transition.
well, they couldn't actually like give the information because it's listed as a city. It's not listed as like South Barstow bid. So,
Oh, water, is this water bill for your irrigation?
Well, we've
So I
been in
guess so.
station for years and never been charged.
So we always have a line item for
And
stormwater.
I'm not sure they can even meter it. But the city's never charged us, so all of a sudden, so showing up on our, the money we owe is a little.
Yeah, I just don't think we got an answer on it from when we asked about it the first time.
Erin, would that be something you can dig into, or would you prefer? to do that?
I will.
And then, yeah, that's, in regards to that 187.26. Great, because in order to cover that, we're gonna have to pull out our reserves and we don't even know what we're asking for, so it'd be nice to get that clarified. That's the only other question I had on. finances.
You're looking for a motion?
I think so. I was just gonna say, you know, if you're looking at like what we have budgeted to actual, I mean, we're well behind what we're spending, so. Not in the red at this point of the year, which is good news, but
As a motion, we want to.
to approve the financials.
I'll make a motion with the current financials.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jeremy. Any more discussion?
Should we condition that approval with, not authorizing payment on that water bill till we figure it out or something? I mean, maybe we should put some type of condition on it.
Well, it's already been paid, so I think you could accept the financials with the exception of that line item and have Erin report back to what they find.
It's kind of friendly.
Yeah, make a friendly amendment and just go ahead and change yours. I don't have it. You need to have it.
Okay. We want to the words. Have a motion, add to the motion of approving the budget that we hold financial payment or we question financial payment for item 6252 water service for South Barstow.
And Jeremy second?
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, and no further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. All right, moving right along. I am 100% gonna pass the torch on over to Dave. We're talking about the operating plan, the updates there. As you know, months ago, I fully entrusted Dave in his work. Very passionate about this operating plan, and I'm glad he is because it's been a lot of work, and I know you two have been working together, you and Janessa. So if you wanna walk us through, just so you guys know, it's page 24 to 57. I believe the first half is the most updated version that's been approved.
Yeah.
And the second part is a red line version, is that right?
Yeah, I looked at there are several versions in the packet, so I did bring a clean, like, more final copy. I only printed 6 of them, so I wasn't prepared
All
for
right.
this many, but whoever would like one, and we can share,
I
hopefully.
printed one, but I'm not sure which one it is. Because our works are look at.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, first of all, I was brought that all back to the executive committee, with kind of where we were, and got direction from them, to move forward with the sort of the outline we have there. And then also at the full board meeting last time, asked a question of the full board. I told them we were getting feedback or rollback on the, wanting to include, the number of owners on our membership. And the full board suggested or voted that they wanted to keep it at 9. That's the way I remember it. So that's kind of honestly, I don't know that you want me to go through all this stuff, but, because we went back and forth a lot and went through all the copies and stuff. I think everything looked pretty good, and I just had the contract in there, had a lot of the things, so Janessa took out a lot of things that maybe were not quite accurate anymore, the way the city looked at things. And I was comfortable with the whole thing, except for, I'm gonna keep it simple. You all know, I'm comfortable with the whole thing, except, as far as the membership and in the bylaws that were added as an addendum, not actually, I don't think a separate item as bylaws, but they were more of an addendum to this, right?
No, they can still be their own, they're just, because they're referenced in the operating plan, they're just an attachment. It doesn't decrease their value.
Okay, so the important thing to me was to keep our bylaws. I know North got rid of theirs. I think the bylaws are important for our group. It tells us how we want to run our meetings, the membership of our meetings, those types of things. And the bylaws can only be changed by 2/3 vote of our board. So it's important for us to have those for the board. So they did allow us to keep those. They took some of the stuff that really wasn't important anymore. Had no problems with any of it.
I was just gonna ask, there was 2 bylaws in the packet. So there was like the current ones and then updated ones that got cleaned up a little bit. So the ones we're talking about are the 21, 22, and 23 pages. Yeah. That's your updated. I think the
And they're-
other ones spelled.
If you have the hard copy, they're at the end.
Oh,
They're one of the
perfect.
attachments in there.
That cleaned that right up.
I think the
There was
question,
a lot of
Yeah.
information.
I have a question, especially with Vanessa's here, about, so many of the bids are doing this, and the way it's written in article. Mostly, my question is about if the bylaws say that, the board consists of up to 15 members. And then let's say you only have 13 of those seats filled. Which I read in South Barstow, it looks like that's the same, it's only the active members that they can serve quorum for.
Mhm.
But in both bylaws, there was like a number of parentheses that said like 8 and then 10. You should probably take that out, right? Because it wouldn't be 8.
If they only have 13
Yeah.
members, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just not necessary. I just thought it was confusing to be like, if you would refer to it and be like, oh, we actually do need 8, even though it says it's only active person. So it's just a suggestion to remove those 2 little parentheses of the 8 and 10.
That's in the bylaws.
Yeah.
One is in Article 8.
It's basically, oh, here. It's a 2/3 vote, it puts 10 in again, and then it says, okay, up here, Article 4 is where mostly it starts. Quorum shall consist of greater than 50% of current board members, and then it's.
Okay.
So it's just removing those.
Two areas of questions if I could approach. One is, part of education process, of you educating me. In an operating plan and a bylaw, in the private segment world, bylaws are usually meant for corporations and operating plans are meant for LLCs. You don't have both.
Mhm.
And also, in looking at the state code of 66.1109, there states nothing about an operating plan and a bylaw. It's strictly an operating plan.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm confused why there's an operating plan and a bylaw stated in your resolution of 2025-54.
The bylaws, like you said, they're not referenced in statute, so there's no requirement that they exist and nothing specifying what should be in them. So Dave felt very strongly that the bylaws continue to exist, so I worked with him to create something that we felt was acceptable, with the noted disagreement on the membership, but it just operates, how the board wants, explains how the board wants to
So
operate.
what outranks what?
The operating plan would supersede anything.
Supersede the bylaw.
Mhm.
Okay. So the next question then is to address, I think, the last stumbling block that was perhaps on in the agreement, and that's the stating of what the state says for a board member compared to what it is now. And I guess I think the city's opinion is that you want us to change it to meet what the state is saying
Mhm.
under section 3-A. And I guess I need an interpretation of this because I read this, perhaps completely different than you do, but I want to just make sure. So the majority of board members shall own or occupy real property in the business improvement district. So a majority of board members shall own or occupy. So that means there could be all people occupying and no owners.
It could be.
There's no requirement at all. So if we want, so then we go to the question of the city council will not approve something that isn't in the state. So that means the only option we have if we change the operating plan, or is it to change the bylaws, that we would have to then go to what the state said. So which is it, Dave? You told me if we don't agree to that, and we feel business owners are still a key point in bids, what option do we have?
Well, it'll be in your recommendations to council because the appointments committee of council has agreed that they give great weight to what the bids recommend as far as membership. So if you continue to recommend, a majority of property owners, more than likely that's what city council will end up doing because they give great preference to the people that you recommend. And council passed a resolution that says that, one of the two that they did earlier this year related to bids. So that would be your way to,
And resolutions can be changed like the next week. So resolutions really don't have any power. It's just a tool they use to express their opinions on it. So the power that would be there for us would be if it's set in the operating plan with 9 owners. Then that's approved, then that's our rules, right? But if we go by the language in the bylaws, which it refers to the bylaws, our membership is made up based on what the bylaws are. Then it's just says we recommend, and that doesn't really, it could change it. Just because we recommend them doesn't mean we're going to get approved. And then I guess I go back to the one question I know you guys disagree with me on, but it also doesn't say in there that it says you have to have a majority of property owners or whatever. And it doesn't say you can't have more than that. So, right, it doesn't say that.
it doesn't say that, and council can certainly appoint more than that. But for us to say in the plan that it shall be more than that is different than what statute says. So council they can appoint all 15 members to be property owners if you want that. And if council agrees with that. But for us to say in the operating plan that it has to be more than that is inconsistent with the statute.
It could be inconsistent with the statute to just say it's 8 property owners based on the way Steve just read it as well.
Yes,
But yet, is that not?
yeah, because
It's not written in there that we have 8 property owners minimum?
it's recommended.
Bylaw amended. Yeah, again, so but where our current operating plan clearly states, one of which must be property owners, which we've been operating under for 40 years. Which was approved, was looked at by legal, was approved by council, and we've been operating it. And so, I don't know, I guess you just won't let us put that on our new operating plan.
Correct. We're not going to put it in the new operating plan.
Can you verify the bylaw that we're working with? The one I think is the current one, the one we're recommending is under Article 4, District Board Numbers and Distinctions. It says the board, about halfway through, the board will consist of 15 members of the district, of which at least 8 members shall be accessible property owners within the district. Is that what's current?
No, the current draft says the board will consist of 15 members and recommends the following composition: 9 members who are accessible property owners for bid purposes.
So that's even a recommend, that's not a shall be
Right.
in the,
Yeah, the difference is the recommend versus shall.
Yeah, that very first sentence under Article 4, I recommend.
could the recommends go, can I see whole recommends language going on?
Yeah.
New one?
Bylaws is
Instead of a
usually
shall?
by operating plan.
Recommends
This
is
is really, bylaws are.
Well, that is the new one.
standard that we
Okay,
think of
I thought that
ourselves
was
as
the
a
one,
board.
they were.
Well, they also refer to them
The
now.
one-
the
The
open
legal,
shall.
Okay.
really hold that. I mean, it's just really a
Gotcha.
standard.
And I would say the executive committee that the reason we went through this whole thing is because of all the stuff we've been through the last year and a half. And we wanted the ability to contract with Becky to get out of some of the owner's purchasing policy items. And it appears now that we don't necessarily have to do that at all. So we don't even have to do this. So, and we can continue to operate as we are. We continue to contract out with Becky. The city's okay with it now. So, it's really, we don't have to do anything to change our current operating plan. You saw a letter from David in the packet.
So what Shaneka, what would happen if they didn't put forth the new draft at this point? Are they able to operate even if their operating plan is technically not what you would recommend? Like what would happen?
Well, I mean, they would just have to stick within, whatever, I'm not super familiar with the current operating plan to say, so your budget would have to align with whatever is in there and make it fit those categories. And you wouldn't be able, like North Barstow is now able to somewhat autonomously go out and contract for services within the parameters that are in the operating plan. But South Barstow, if you don't do the update, we'll still have to have Dave's signature or somebody else's signature along with you on any of the contracts and essentially double check all the work in that sense. So the update would give you more autonomy to be able to act on things.
But as the executive board, should we be putting this up to the next full board for a vote?
Yeah, I think it seems like, the only control that we have really is making sure that we accept these bylaws as an exec committee every year and follow this standard. Whether it fully gets accepted or not, it's a little out of our control, but to at least,
Well, we got choices of whether or not we don't do anything, or whether or not we do and we alter the makeup of the board. And I guess I'm not against private individual owners, business owners that rent in the bid having a say. I think business building owners bring more of a stabilitiness to the board. And so I think that's why I'm in favor of business owners, building owners having majority. Unless they can't be filled, unless there's no way volunteering, I guess, then that the second choice would be to fill that seat as the business owner, but.
Are you comfortable with the idea that if you did your own recruitment and got property owners to make sure that they're filling out the resource bank, then the pool of people you're electing every year will contain that? Or the saying no to the operating plan changes of recommendation, like it can still happen, and to be fair, it's happened forever, with or without this. So I guess you'd be weighing out what is more beneficial at this time to kind of insist that it be one way or be able to have more autonomy. Obviously, as Becky as a service provider, I do want to work for you. It would be much easier if all four bids follow the same path so that we can save money and work with vendors. And that's why Julie's here to talk about it. Maybe we can do that more. I guess I would just also suggest that you're either just today coming up with a recommendation that you'd like to say to the full board, and like we would like to move forward with this operating plan, but not in a direct motion at this meeting, but coming to a consensus of that. And if you can't, then that's when you put it in the full board anyway.
right. What, where do you currently sit, Dave? I mean, you've done all the work on this, so do you want to see this all go?
I think it has to go to the full board. I think they are the ultimate deciders on it, and we'll have that conversation about it. We can't send them all the stuff we send them, but we could send them, because, they're gonna be confused with a lot of it, but we could send them maybe the highlights of what we're looking at, what our concerns are, and then they can all weigh in on and ask questions.
So do we,
But
like,
the
as a
bylaws,
group,
quite
wanna,
honestly, the bylaws,
yeah,
to change those, it's gonna take a 2/3 vote. So it's different than a majority on the operating plan, so I think there may be two separate items.
More.
And do I support it? Nah, not really, but, let's hear from Aaron, what is the particular why you want us to pursue this, than what we could be doing, just the way Dave said, we could still operate.
Well, Janessa just made it sound like that isn't actually true. So I guess we would need clarification on that.
Let's
Dave-
get Dave back in the.
Yeah, are you familiar with what Dave sent an
His
email
letter was
saying
in the
that
packet.
regardless of an operational plan change, South Barstow bid could contract Decky to subcontract? But it sounds like maybe you're saying that's not.
You could, the bid could still contract with Decky. I think there would just be a few more internal city steps that would have to happen for that. It couldn't just be the bid going right to Decky. It would be more like we had to have that kind of interim contract with North Barstow. It would be something more like that.
And then the payment procurement guideline for most are still okay. So for me, Dave, that doesn't work. Having Decky as the service provider that then has to just be subject to, the extensive, well, unless you wanna pay a lot more money, I guess. It's just an incredible amount of time, especially when you have established programs like you do. The chances of you like massively switching over all of your vendors or kind of your goals for the year.
What will we pay massively more?
Well, just the amount of the effort that Decky would have to go through to secure all of the just natural work you do, and then you would have to have more meetings to approve everything. It can't be done the way Julia, and maybe we wait for this conversation to when we get to like the Decky contract. This is why I invited Julia in, because she had a year under her belt working with Decky in this new way. And I feel like she's willing to stay on as chair of North Barstow one more year, when last year she maybe wasn't. Not just kidding, she's still here. But I don't wanna move
Dave-
forward to
Dave just
Decky
came
until
back.
we
We
finish
just,
this operating.
we just had a conversation on that we wouldn't necessarily be able to contract with Decky in the same way. Because they, I don't know, they were talking about it, they'd have to go through a few more hoops or something.
So if, and I don't know the existing operating plan with, the North Barstow. But I think the existing North Barstow operating plan spells out like the, times that you have to go back where you can continue the Decky, contract for like up to 5 years, renew it, or 3 years, where you'd have to renew it every year, I believe with that. But as far as hiring Decky to provide those services, I think they'd be able to do that. It would just be more,
It would just be through the city because they wouldn't, by operating plan, be granted the ability to contract.
so then Aaron would be involved.
So like the city would still pay vendors, still have to do.
That's how we had it originally set up, was that, Decky, so you're arranging for his lights and you can procure a vendor on it, but then money in there, because there's two pots of money, one to pay for work that you're doing as like a project manager, one to pay for the actual services. And it was going to be, work gets done, the board authorizes that payment, lets Aaron know, then Aaron cuts a check out to
Well, Aaron doesn't, but
electrical, if it, in the original way we were looking, now you don't. Because that money was fronted to your account, I believe, like 30% of it up front.
yeah, I think that's where we're confused. I feel like Jeanette's saying that if they don't update their operating plan, that actually can't happen in that form. Like the city would still pay vendor.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So
It would,
So that would be my suggestion is that,
but you could still do a lot of the legwork on
Yeah.
behalf of them instead of Aaron doing the legwork.
I would say that overwhelmingly vendors are getting paid at a very delayed rate, the way it currently is. And it is affecting small businesses in our community because you're not working with the major, service providers in this area. You're working with like Lily Bees or even Thomas Lee Lighting that, he's waited 3 months for, holiday decor payment. And that's just unreasonable.
Yeah, and part of it's built in because those payments then, like if it's the landscaping subcommittee and somebody's fixing your water system or doing this or that, the subcommittee, I think in Barstow has the authority to approve that now. Like you have, I think, the authority for the lighting and stuff, but you still have to give that authority, and that takes time to get that body to meet, and then that direction gets sent over to the city to pay, and invoices have to be in by, I think, noon on Wednesday to get a check cut on Friday, and if you get on Thursday, it's the following week. So just the process
Yeah, like
has that delay built in, as opposed to you writing a check out to.
Chris Brown has been waiting 3 months for a water street payment because a series of different mistakes happened along the way. And that's what we don't want to see happen, and that would be what builds in more time for techie support if you don't do it, is that we will be now at more meetings, and we'll be having more conversations and tracking down payments and talking to vendors. Just more time, so that's the more billable cost that I guess I would be explaining to you.
Holiday decor from Thomas Lee's wasn't so partially not been paid for.
No, I said Brown hasn't been paid. Thomas Lee,
Thomas Lee.
yeah, no, he told me that he usually does not get his check until February,
When does he bill
in November.
it? Well, if he bills it to me, then he gets paid, because I got the Green Oasis sent it to Aaron, and
But I think there's holdups that are happening beyond your signature is what I'm explaining. And I'm having these conversations with the vendors in real time, you know, and so that's important. But I also can save you time and money by doing this, right? At this point, it looks like Thomas Lee will be putting up the same type of garland and lights in North Barstow and West Grand. We don't know what Water Street's doing, but at that point, he comes out for 1 to 3 days in your bid, one lift, split between the 3 groups. The time saving of him, you know, doing it all at once. It's just, there is obviously an inherent value in the shared resources of having shared vendors amongst the bid, and I can help with that. But again, I think if we could wait till we get to the decking contract, because
Yeah.
I would really like Julia to speak to it. You guys have heard from me a million times, how I intend to do this. But she actually has experienced it and can maybe offer some more insight that I
I
don't.
do just want to stay a little on track and get past our agenda item with this operating plan. And just for like exec board, like, are you guys comfortable saying where you're at with, like, do you support it, do you not? And can we have something we can recommend moving forward that's not
I'm
something?
going to ask Eric a question, because your comments now are throwing a huge wrench into it if we try to keep them going. So I guess what you're saying to us then is that I guess what are you saying
What I'm saying is,
about this particular item of board members?
yeah, if I was sitting on the board, I would be recommending to update the operating plan as suggested by the city legal. We've got to work with them. We're part of the city, right? But more so, I would trust that with your ability to recommend or recruit business owners, I don't see a situation where you won't also be able to match your bylaws. I think we have to allow city council and appointments committee to follow their resolution and prove to us that they stand by the weight of the board. So when you're voting in your new seat, that you're still maintaining that 9 property owner, you might even have more than that. So I would say it's not a problem until it's a problem, and when it is, we're building a team that can provide that support. North Barstow also has the ability to contract for legal services, the question we could get another opinion on, and if needed to, bring back to the city and approach again, but I don't think we're there yet. So I think why halt the ability to have better services, bigger changes, until it becomes a problem? It's not a problem. So I think the way that Janessa has updated this still gives you, it still has a powerful statement that you want to see a majority property owners. There is not one of the other bits that has more occupied or business owners on their board than property owners. So I just see this as like a non-reality. That said, when it happens and you guys want to get upset about it, we've got support to help us work through how we handle it. I just don't know that it's gonna be.
I guess a clarification point then is that if we recommend that, or if that's what one of the recommendations for the full bid board meeting, the operating plan would stand as the top of the food chain. And the operating plan right now says refer to the bylaws. So in referring to the bylaws don't hold water.
Well, it's in the operating plan to refer to them, so.
But the operating plan, the bylaws do not agree with the state.
Well, they do when
They do, the recommendation would agree, because that's just saying, this is our preference.
Okay.
rather than it must be this way.
Okay.
And I think your bylaws, your old bylaws, even though they're written and adopted, if push came to shove and you had a state level lawsuit with that, they would be found not to stand up in court with comparison to a state statute. But the chances of that are probably pretty slim, but I think that's where the level that it's
We
at.
put a lot of work into the bylaws back in the day and stuff like that, and I'm comfortable with this whole thing, the way we got it. I just don't like the fact that we're stepping down from shall have 9 property owners. Correct, we refer, we say this is recommended, and we send those to council, and they don't. Well, the board still has the ability to just cease functioning or do something else if they're gonna not appoint some of our members, that we vote on, the board still votes on them, then I guess that's an action we'd have to take at that point in time. This works for me, I don't like it, because we gave up just about everything I put in there, and then we all felt we read in statutes and legal other ways. And so that one thing, it seems to me like we should have been grandfathered on it. We've operated for 40 years like that, and now all of a sudden, this administration, it's not okay, so.
Is there a follow-up question with that? Can it be added, I know it doesn't state it in the state, but what's the definition of a non-property owner? I mean, anybody that starts up a business next week could sit on the board, or do they have to be in business for a certain number of years, or?
And
Well, I
again,
think
bylaws that defines that.
But it also says people with vested interest, so I don't know that there is any requirement, right? So, you know,
You
yours
can't
is.
put any requirement in there either.
I honestly, if I can put my 2 cents in, I completely echo everything you said. I completely echo everything you said. Whether, you know, we don't like it, but I think there's been a lot of good work put into this. I think we deserve an update after 40 years. I think if this helps us work with potentially Becky, all these things, I would like to see this move forward. I think it's gonna be up to us, up to exec, up to chair to uphold the bylaws and make sure that we stick with that standard of, you know, the 9 property owners. Again, that seems like the only control that we can have for state statute and legal, and I think we've gone as far as we can go. I'd hate to see this, you know, linger on any further. I think it's about gotten to the point where it can, so. If I were to say anything, I would say we take this, we recommend this to full board. And thank you for the work, Al.
Good job.
You did do a really good job.
What are you gonna do
I
now?
think both, I mean, I'll be honest, I would thank Vanessa as well, because she put up with me
Yeah,
for this.
thank you.
And, you know, I do think we came up with a pretty decent product. I just don't like the fact that.
And I think voicing our
Taking something
concerns to
away
full
from us,
board
you
and
know.
giving them the opportunity to.
You want to make a motion, Dave? or-
Jeremy, do you have any?
I mean, it sounds like you can't do much besides kind of making sure
All
we're
right.
pointing the.
Yeah, you put me on the spot, aren't you? Because I recommend it, doesn't mean I vote for it, but I recommend. I would make a motion that would recommend the updated, bylaws and operating plan to the full board. And again, remember that the bylaws have, according to us, have need a 2/3 vote. So,
I'll make a friendly comment. I don't know if I want to recommend it. I want to have a discussion to give the full board the 2 options,
Right, there you go.
and then I want a vote to be taken.
So we're gonna present it, so we're gonna, the motion would be that the exec committee presents the 2 options to the full board. And then, yeah, I guess that
And do we
would
favor going one direction but giving them the option, or we're just presenting?
just present it.
Would it be helpful if Becky just created kind of a basic chart comparing the two, to have in your packet for that?
How do we get her?
Yeah, because this is a heavy read. You know it because
Yeah.
you've been working on it forever, and a lot of these people are coming to a meeting really for the first time, and you don't want to get into kind of like, you know, one line that they're caught up on that really has nothing to do with the overall.
Can you email this cleaned up version?
Yes, yeah, I will send it out.
Yeah, because there's a lot, there's a lot of them out there.
Yep.
There is.
Are you adding that work to your plate?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
We need
Steve,
a
second.
We need a second.
Oh, sorry.
Steve, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
I just have a question. Do your bylaws say anything about any bylaw changes have to be presented 15 days before the vote?
5
There was something in there about that.
5 business days before the vote.
I know we're
Which
running
means
into
it can't
that problem.
be the night before.
Yeah, and your meeting's in 2 weeks, so there's.
So we should send them on with his bylaws at least as soon as we can.
Even outside of the packet.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we actually, can we send this to full board, like, we just say have this for meeting in a couple weeks?
Make the 2/3 vote.
Already wrote
And so we gotta get people there.
Ours was 15 and we missed that deadline twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
You guys got rid of your
And
bylaws.
they were quarterly. No, I'm talking about 2 years ago. So it took us 9 months to actually be able to vote on something. It was very frustrating.
Recorders. Or 2/3.
Yeah, I get phone calls.
Right.
Make sure they get there.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
With your, Aaron, with your, short breakdown, would that include the cost difference then too? On yours, Aaron?
We can certainly put it on there.
I know it's an estimate.
Yeah, I mean, since I have a year under my belt of doing it for North Barstow and then kind of having to do this free trial of Becky for the other bid, I can probably look back. It is a massively time consuming process, but yeah, I'll work that in.
Can I just ask, we're moving on, we'll start talking Becky contract, but, there was the resolution in here, is it the MOU with the city and the bids? Does anybody want to speak to that? Because I don't know where it came from as part of that.
This is the resolution that council made about how they will deal with bids
Yep.
and your appointment.
So does anybody need to speak to this or is this just kind of for reference?
I think it was just to point out that they will
Okay.
give weight to your decision, even if,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you guys all see that? I don't know. I mean, it was a nice document, so I just didn't know if we needed to do any discussion on it, but.
Yeah.
The resolution.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? I know it's kind of like outside of all of our conversations, but I just wanted to throw it away.
I would
You don't
just,
need to talk about it. Show the paper.
I would- I was just gonna say with when you get to the point that you're going to recommend appointments for that and with that resolution there, probably wouldn't hurt to invite council members that are on the appointments committee to come to your South Barstow meeting so they can see the discussion thought process, be aware of this again. You may have new council members that aren't aware that that MOU exists at that time. And then it would just help the relationship with that, so.
Aaron, is Josh still on? Who's the current?
I am not sure, to be honest with you.
Aaron, Josh, and
We can look it up.
yeah.
On the advisory?
Advisory.
Yeah, I think it's Josh, Aaron, and Emily.
Marie.
Or Emily Anderson now.
I thought it was still Emily.
Would
Brady.
Emily,
Marie.
yeah, so the president has a permanent
Yeah.
seat. So
Mhm.
okay.
Oh, Aaron's the
And Chief, correct me if I'm wrong,
not Andrew.
have we ever had a appointments committee not appoint somebody that was recommended by any of the boards? Generally speaking, they come to the appointments committee with recommendations. I don't recall.
I remember it happening at least once, but there were like significant problems associated with.
And not
well,
for a bid board.
Never for a big board. Yeah, never for a big board. I'm thinking of the appointments committee might recommend something and then the council might approve.
Oh,
That's what I'm remembering. Never for a big board. Honestly, if you don't mind, just to speak towards council sort of
Not
experience.
at all.
Like 9 years.
Yeah, right.
I think that overall, the council has so much work to do that they are happy to defer to the experience of the bid, 99.9999% of the time. I think that the council feels that the bid knows best of where, who's gonna best serve the district. So, and like Aaron said, there are lots of other ways where you all have power aside from this one document to make sure that standard is upheld. So.
Well, all right, moving on. So Decky contract. I wrote a little something down because I had 1,000 thoughts, so I'm just gonna read this like 18-page document. No, I'm gonna read this quick.
In pencil.
It's really tiny. Don't worry.
So
it'll
in
take 3 minutes.
Person, yeah.
I just want to read this, clear my thoughts. We invited Julia here. I want her also to speak to her experience, and then we can move into the questions and the comments. So if that's okay with you guys. So in regards to working with Debbie, okay. My intention today is to start, if not complete, a contract of working with Debbie. Obviously, I'd like to work with a support group that's proven themselves in more ways than one. Having been on this board for a few years now, admittedly, early on, I did question the deputy funding. Naturally, there was no receipts. We didn't quite know what the work was. And obviously now, as we've been forced to break down that number over the last year, and I've asked Decky to prove themselves, the contribution makes total sense to me. Let's not forget, you guys all put me on the DECI board to serve as the South Barstow representative. And I've been able to real time be a part of their evolution, as well as be an active board member in the very things that they do. The DECI I experienced years ago under the arm of the city, to the DECI we see today are completely different entities. We asked DECI to prove themselves and they've gone above and beyond. They've insanely increased their involvement in activities, involvement in downtown businesses. They've increased marketing and communication. And more importantly, this group branched out from its position within the city to become a full functioning independent nonprofit, fully employed with a very active board. The relationships being built between businesses, the bids, and the city are exactly why a group like this is so important. They become a point of contact, an informational hub, and a consistent voice for downtown through all of the changes. To me, this is more important, more than ever, as there's still major issues looming. As we all know, we'll get into those in the announcement section. But yeah, as these, major issues are looming, businesses, the frustrations are going to mount, and at least now they have a one direction that they can go to, and I think that is so important. The frustration with businesses we found with any of our problems that have happened downtown, that's when things really fall apart. So to have an organized communication and go to, we've all contacted maybe people from the city, maybe people from this, that, or the other thing, and we've not gotten answered, we've not been heard back from. And that's really where, again, when things kind of fall apart to me. I don't intend on moving into next year anything like this last year has been. I think, as business owners, building owners, we clearly all have a lot on our plate. Steve graciously stepped in just to help us through this year. So we may not have him on the exec committee next year. Jeremy, please don't. We've got appointments that are potentially up. Maybe, people are done running their 15 years on the board. Things are always going to change. And what scares me is that there's not a lot of people like the Aarons, the Daves, the Mees, the U's of these committees that are willing to do this kind of work. So we don't coordinate and, consistent the information somewhere. This is always going to be a machine that's very operating. You guys, if I can remind you, at the August 27th meeting, we did ask the full board if they could approve the exec committee working on a contract with DECI. And I would like to honor that. They did give us that capacity to go forward with that. So I'd love for us to collectively come together and bring something to full board together next week, as we've intended to, which we told them that they would do, which they agreed to let us do. If you guys don't, if we can't come together with something, I still will move forward with something to present to them. It's, it's up to full board to decide whether they want to work with this contract or not, so.
I would say, geez, to do something next week, this executive committee hasn't worked on a DECI contract at all.
Well, we have one right in front of us.
Isn't that it?
Yes, but let me just finish out, what I want to tell you guys in the packet. We not only have the North Barstow MOU, that they work tirelessly on, by the sounds of it. So, thank you for laying the groundwork for this. There is a South Barstow proof in there that we can rip apart or not, or red line or whatever we need to do, but
More of
it's
a
a
template, I
working,
would say.
it's a working,
Yeah.
contract that we can start looking at today. But I do want to ask Julia what it's been like.
So North Barstow intended to start working with DECI in January. And from January to March, we essentially worked with DECI in the capacity that your old operating plan would allow you to. DECI was our staff, but they were still working through city protocols until we had the contract put in place in March. And then that's the MOU that you have in your packet, it seemed. And then I would say everything just got quieter, smoother, and less complicated, because now DECI kind of had their permissions of what they can do, and they were talking directly to contractors instead of working through the procurement policy of the city, which was still very I feel like constant asking for permission of the city and even, we had a different city representative working with us at that time and it's like, well, I still need 3. I gave you 3. Well, I didn't, it was
One
like,
didn't count.
it felt like a lot of like efforts and it was really fun to get things done. And the reason that North Barstow knew that we wanted to hire Decky is because our board, is not hands-on talking to vendors whatsoever. Like in the interim, of Decky not being part of the city, I think that was like 3 hard months before this year started. I was going out and asking people for the quotes that, we had already found this work to someone else and it was like, I felt like I was going around asking for personal favors of like, can you waste your time so I can have this documentation? So, like it all fell on me. So, am I going to then go hire staff? Like, 1 staff person to work for the bid versus hire Decky? And then hiring Decky, hopefully we'll have these advantages of multiple bids, hiring Decky so that, it can be earthbound contract for 4 bids, talking to 1 person type of thing. So I definitely felt that transition of the more permissions and structure that we put in place and had established with Decky, the more things got done without that same level of frustration. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. It had to do with, how does a bid board that has to follow open meeting laws talk about a contract, in a 2-week period, unless you have someone that, like, I can't remember, it was banner design during our last meeting, and it's like, we would really like to get this done before November. Are we gonna call another meeting? Oh, wait, Decky can be the contact person. So we ended up, just copying your guys' design anyways. I don't know. We didn't ask how you feel about that, but that was the vote of the board. It wasn't our suggestion. Our suggestion was that, Decky collect feedback so that we could move forward with the design. So that even though Decky has been given the permission to spend up to this amount of money and, they have the timeline and they can write the check, they've been given all the permissions, the board still wanted to be involved in like what that looks like. And Decky was willing to say, okay, well, I'll get the feedback and then I'll, confer with Julia and we can move forward in a 2-week time period. Whereas that's not possible if we're, meeting every 2 months and every decision has to go through the full board, or you're left with, okay, well, it's just gonna be delegated to permission to 1 person. So this seems like a really functional compromise between those 2 options of participation from all or, participation by 1.
I was gonna ask you about committees. So you guys no longer have committees?
We have an executive committee, and for an example, the board decided that we wanted to kind of, with partnership of Decky and city staff, reevaluate what a great, or more than just an email from legal, what does an orientation look like as to how do you join a bid board and get up to speed so that you can participate more quickly than just, showing up at meetings and feeling it out and like, okay, I think I'm learning by observation and now I'm more comfortable to participate. So we talked about doing an orientation and we opened it up to the board. Who wants to participate in this? And if more than 2 people wanted to participate, we know that we need to form a committee. So we're open to committees for, items, but we don't have standing committees. We meet twice a month and our quorum is actually doing really great this year. But we've struggled with participation, which is another reason that we didn't, if you say, are we going to staff this bid board in our, like, spend our operating plan ourselves versus are we going to hire staff to make sure that things are getting done in between? Like, option A wasn't even really practical for us, because otherwise it would have been exclusively me.
And then speak to financials. So do you guys just pay a lump sum top of the year and then they manage the budget?
So in the, contract that you see, I think it's called the MOU.
Yeah.
That's how we are operating this year, and we can kind of disregard that because I owe an addendum to that for next year to reflect what we did in our operating plan. And I don't know if you guys included this in your operating plan, but we are going to give Decky 25% of the subcontracted services total in the beginning of each quarter, and then it's kind of adjusted so that they never have more than 25%, but if they spent more, they can ask for 25% plus the kind of gap, the amount overspent.
Mhm.
So we kind of true up with Decky every quarter.
And how do you do that within your committee? Who does the financials to do that?
Well, we have line items for each, so in our
You guys do
contract,
this too.
we
This is like-
essentially tell Decky, you have 5,000, or this year it's $6,000 to spend on garbage. And that's one that like, we're probably not gonna talk about for the rest of the year. Banners, they have a set amount for like maintenance. So if in July they come and say, hey, we've used all of our maintenance money, we need more money, we haven't run into that. So the subcontracted services are beautification grants, and that one we actually have like a separate motion that's, I probably could have included the motion that we did. There's sponsorship and beautification grants require motions from the board to grant Decky permission to spend those monies. Whereas trash cans, banners, more pots, garbage service, well, we don't have music service yet, snow removal, and then the landscaping. And the trash cans, banners, and more pots was the capital improvements, group. And then the, banners and maintenance includes like taking up and putting down the banners and now the garland. So all of those are like, Decky, here's your budget. We talked to Decky about it before setting it, like spend within it or tell us when you have an issue. And really it's kind of a spend within it unless, like, I guess if we ran out of money and then the board said no more money for banners, then we have to decide to take them down or not.
So the question was the 25%. So let's just say you have $100,000 budget, you're gonna give them $25,000 for the first quarter.
Yes.
So then you give them another 25 the next quarter, or they always have up to 25%. How do you make those draws? How does that? what's
So they
process?
have a checking account with our name on it, and they spend out of that $25,000. And then come, what would that be, April? They say, we spent $30,000. Can we get another 25,000 and the 5 that we already, expended? So now we need 30,000. Or if they spent 20,000, then they'd say, okay, well, we need 20,000 more to give us another 25,000. So they get 25,000 for the quarter. And then at the end of the year, it gets a final like true up.
And they go to the bid board with that request, or how does that work? Who approves that?
They send an invoice to me, I sign it, and it gets sent to the city. And that's how it's detailed in our operating.
So the city will have the file of the invoice. I will pay it as soon as Julia signs it, but then I basically, you have the packet?
No,
You know this.
I didn't get it.
So basically, every bid meeting that we have, I'll provide a financial report to both the city and in the packet for the bid. And so I'll go through, I have just 2 views of it. so that you can see, like, this is broken down by category. So then I show, you know, what the payments were, where they went, what check number, da, 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 and then I have kind of a running total, so like year to date, we've
You
spent
do
this
it
much.
quarterly, so like the bid board,
I
would
do
have
it
a
every-
quarterly meeting?
Well, my goal would be to get you guys to have full board meetings quarterly, exec could meet more as needed, so that it's more streamlined, you can do what you want. Right now, they're meeting more than that, so it's just every time I have an exec board meeting, I'll provide that, and then it gets carried over to the full board, so they have, transparency. And then the second version is just a running by date of the expenditures, so you can see where they are with some notes if you need to know. So it's working really well, I think. The one issue that you might have, and we're still trying to figure out with the city, is that at the end of the year, the city is not gonna go in and plug in my, like, what I spent for each, a munis code. It's gonna really just reflect just out of
Prepayments to Decky.
prepayments to Decky.
Mm.
So this would be in the file, but we're trying to figure out a way that when year after year, when Julie is no longer bid chair and someone else needs that historical information, they have it, obviously the Decky file, they're stored at the city, but it would be nice to have that available for public record, I guess.
And so, let's just say Decky has too much that we didn't spend, we're typically in the city.
Oh, I just keep it and then I go on vacation.
How does that work?
At the end of the year, I imagine I'll be cutting a direct check for any remaining dollars that, and again, it's gotta match up with what I've gotten
Yeah, how
as
is
we
it
return to the city.
in our operating plan is assuming that we're still under contract with Decky. They would basically be receiving 25% of our new year's budget. So if they already have $10,000 unspent, it would be, 25% minus the 10,000. So you're at the beginning of each quarter, you should only have 25% of that year's budget of subcontracted
So I'd be
services.
requesting perhaps $10,000.
And Becky doesn't hold on to a reserve
And then,
balance.
and so then the,
No.
Right, that's tells the city, so that's separate.
the sponsorship or whatever you do in Decky now, like we have 40,000 in ours, that goes for what? And is that
You have 20.
administrative fees?
So how
To do this, or how would that?
Yeah, how we structure it is, for our upcoming year, we gave Decky $20,000. How I like to say is to do what Decky does, as in throw Fall Fest, write newsletters, to
Marketing support.
be our downtown org. And then we have, $20,000 for paying our bills, talking to our vendors, and then $10,000 for advertising.
You guys had that broke down like 5,000 a month in administrative, or a quarter, yeah, yeah, that's an easier way to look at it.
Yeah, and then they added, just so nobody's confused, this year, they've increased, the dollar amount to Decky with a $10,000 additional line that's gonna be specific to marketing. So that's a new piece. And you guys are looking at 40,000, so, so just depending what your needs are, or how it works, if you feel you want more out of us, we can certainly accommodate at that.
And to be fair, like that dollar amount is not any different than how we operated this last year. You cried 25, was it, or 20
You had
for
25 in sponsorship.
sponsorship to, event specific, not necessarily admin, but
Yeah, and then 24, exactly what you just said.
If I may.
Mhm.
I like the idea, I would support the idea of more of the, maintenance and kind of getting the stuff up and rolling, talking to vendors, all that. I find that beneficial for everybody. I don't really want to have to do all that stuff. You're acting kind of as like assistant and everything has to get approved through us anyways.
Mhm.
I like that piece. I don't have much of a concern. I think where there's probably some shared concern, wants to get on anyone else's behalf is like the other 20,000 that'd be for more of a sponsorship and just kind of do with what you want to do is kind of free reign. At least kind of what I've seen. I know you're probably everyone. Yes. When it comes down to city events, speaking on like Fall Festival, it's kind of the whole Eau Claire, everyone looks at Eau Claire in general, and it basically gets pushed into some people's it's run by only select individuals, and so it's hard not to get your own bias pushed into it. I don't know what restrictions can be put on there, or who can get approved, what gets passed for these things. So that, in my opinion, I would run it very similar to a business. I wouldn't put anything political in there. I wouldn't put anything polarizing in there. I wouldn't put really anything religious in there. I'd keep all that stuff out. It should be fun. It should be for families. It should be just like, come down, grab something to eat, honestly houses. That's nothing polarizing. The world is far too polarized as it is, if we ever look at the news and things. So how can we do just the basics, or how can we approve things like that? And speaking based on the drag show that was out there, you know, some people support it, some people don't support it. I'm just thinking, because again, it's a polarized thing. And I know that Matt put the video out there that I saw that I thought was snarky. If people have seen that or not seen that, I don't think that was called for. I think that creates more of an issue with people. That's my 2 cents. I think that's my big concern with the 20,000 there. I do fully support the administrative task work, the 20,000 there.
And on that one as well, there's like, didn't I see an enhancement grant going to the East Side Neighborhood Association? Is that out of our 20 grand, and how does that, where did that money come from?
Very Kincaid. She donates to the downtown enhancement grant every year at $2,000 level. The enhancement grant started as a fund. So we had built up about $20,000 and just recently, spent through that. And so Carrie has graciously been doing that. So that is something, done through a separate sponsorship. So East Hill, Boyd Park is part of downtown, and East Hill is a DECI member. So they met all of the requirements of the grant to receive that. So, nothing to do with South Barstow's, contribution for those dollars.
And then one more thing to maybe what Jeremy's talking about is, we have our committees, and I know last year when we had the meeting where we had to allocate the funds and we shipped it all around, that Fall Fest was going to run through the entertainment committee. And so that's an event where you should have, I think, or at least run it through the committee. This is what we're doing, this is what we're planning. Is there any concerns? Stuff like that.
We can navigate that. So obviously, just to speak to the direct issue of the video Matt put out. I agree with you. I think it was a misstep. I was unaware that video was created until it was created and put out. That is my fault of not overseeing our marketing team. Brian Mackey had gotten a new job and resigned, and so our marketing committee meetings halted. We have 1.75 staff with an incredible amount of work, and so some things do get lost. Do I agree that we should be able to have a drag show at Fall Fest? Absolutely. Do I think the message was inappropriate? Yes. And I talked to Matt since about it. But I do want to also point out that we did have, and 2 years in a row now, have the collective choir, which is not a direct religious affiliation, but of course, you know, a choir that preaches the love of Jesus as one of our performers. And so the goal with Fall Fest is to highlight the unique collection of businesses and organizations that we have in Eau Claire that bring a space where community happens. And so DECI as an individual organization, you know, rents out through the city the use of South Barstow. It's always been there, and it's been a priority of South Barstow bid to have Fall Fest located there. We could run the event without that, even if you had a letter of non-approval, you know, but city council and the special events committee would have to weigh out, you know, if it's worth it or not, even if you disagree. You could also move the event to a different bid that might want it, or consider alternate location. So I would say that what can't happen is I can't have 60 bosses, which means every bid board director has the right to tell me what to do, as well as my own board and my own chair. And then the city, of course, matching up with what I need to do to make sure that we're able to host events like this. I would love to see, and we're looking to get a fall festival committee set up for next year that could include anyone who wants to join it and help us facilitate planning. Right now, for the last 2 years, it was single-handedly run by Matt and I, which is quite a feat if you look at how many people came down, to the point where even this year it should have been celebrated, but for me, it felt almost borderline scary to have that many people in that footprint, with the different moving pieces. And so I totally respect you, Jeremy, and I agree, especially as a nonprofit that's looking to support a broader group. We can't be polarizing, but we also need to be available to support and promote the businesses that exist here. Firehouse does do drag shows on a regular basis. They extended their liquor license in that area. We got private sponsorship for that area.
Around the lake and Scooter.
They did.
It exists in that.
Yeah, and so Clarion, oh no, they still do. Andy and Amy are continuing them. Scooters might not be, because it's not a safe space for them anymore. So I also just want to mention that if you wanted to see the drag show, it was almost impossible because it was so busy. We've been curating in an appropriate way to keep things separate and apart. We also had to go through a checkpoint to get there. So it wasn't something that anyone could stumble across, but I would say that there was a tremendous amount of families there. Many of the queens and kings have children that embrace it. And so I think at the same time, what we try to do is create a safe space for everyone and not have it, main stage in your face. And so I think we're going to continue along those lines. And I just want to be really honest about that. If that means losing your support, I understand. I would say it's incredibly unfortunate because without Jackie doing these things, you don't have another organization doing this. Visital Clear is great, but they're a marketing team. We are taking that marketing, your work and your dollars and your investment in the downtown, and we're creating a tangible thing that people experience and enjoy. And I hope that you're seeing your economic, stability, like return. I hope that you're seeing improved visibility for your businesses, and that we can kind of work together with that. But I will take, of course, suggestions, criticism, comments, and concerns, but I do think we have to also recognize that Decky as an organization is independent. And certain pieces of what we do can't necessarily be controlled by any one bid or bid member. But yes, of course, you can reduce your dollars if that's problematic.
Question here, go ahead, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think, just backtrack a little bit. I know we're focusing on the drag show, but it was more about everything overall. Obviously, I have my viewpoints on a lot of things. I would just never do anything, whether it's a Republican, a Democratic, anything, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. As
Did
well,
JD Vance come to your business?
I didn't know.
Okay, I just want
I
to
was
make
literally-
sure that we're like
Yeah.
really thinking about how.
You actually,
It's not a public thing, though.
that's, yeah, I didn't know until someone said, hey, it's really busy here. I said, why is it busy?
Business.
I literally didn't know.
Yeah.
They legally, they cannot tell where you're actually going.
Oh,
Due to
yeah,
safety things.
sure.
I did not even know, so,
Sure.
but yes, it did come.
Okay, again,
Okay.
because I just want to make sure we're like all understanding.
But we as a business would never promote anything either way.
Sure.
Even religious things, I get things posted on my billboard, I take that thing off. They're supposed to ask permission. I do not want anything. I want things that are events. I want it to be Pablo Center. It can be things that events we're in, all this stuff. That's just, it's not going to be polarizing. I think it's the point. I think it's getting into the direction of like, I'm just scrutinizing this thing, but I can understand the point of you can't have too many bosses telling you what to do, what you can't do. So I guess, I don't know what there is to do. Where did someone draw the line? Something like that, and like what's accepted, what's not accepted, like.
Well, I'll tell you, there's no marketing going out before I see it now. That's a change.
I wanted to know how your Decky board reacted to that video.
Honestly, and I'm not
Nobody
trying to answer it. There is not one response I got except from the three of you.
Did the Decky board too?
Nobody brought it up because it was a non-issue.
Yeah, it was actually celebrated.
Now, I
Might go
can't
to the makeup of the Decky board, maybe.
Can I just-
At our executive committee, we identified, you were sick that day, we identified it as a misstep.
And that's how, yep, and I've talked to Jake, the chair, about it, and again, I don't wanna put any blame on Matt, but, together we're a team, and he he brings a different voice and perspective to this that I do respect, as well. And so, although it was a misstep and I definitely should have had eyes on it, it happened. Can't take it back, but I can learn from it and I can work to make sure that our messaging is, much more, community oriented and not polarizing. I agree. I didn't love the video. I agree with the message in the sense of like, I don't think everyone has to approve of everything that everyone does. I just don't think it was a good take. So,
I just want to say to all of that, right? I did not bring anything up. I pulled countless clients about this message. I would say majority thought it was funny. I also see the side that it is offensive and it was not in good taste and it was a misstep. I think it is really unfortunate we would consider pulling funding, not working with them because of one mistake that they've made. Clearly, Erin's already mentioned that she's learned from it. I think moving forward, I think business, it's smart to stay apolitical. You do not have an affiliation, and I think that's important. You represent a lot of different people in the whole district. With the drag show year one, people had an issue with it. In year two, you already made steps to make it more respectful for people, moving it off, maybe Center Street, putting it in a zone that you had.
it was a big spot, but yeah.
Well, you had a checkpoint. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just different. Like you guys clearly are hearing concerns and working with them. I think that if it continues to be a problem, with a partial part of the board, then maybe it's more concerning. But to have one mistake is really ridiculous. We all make mistakes. We all have businesses and we've done stupid things. Having eyes on everything that they do, they already have a board that, supports a lot of the things that they do. But from somebody who's personally been there for the last 3 years at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., like boots on the ground helping with Fall Fest, there is no way that we can give approval to every step of that process. It is intricate. There's a million different things going on. We have to give them the respect and the space to work on the things that they do. And minus this misstep, I agree. I can see the side of it that people don't like. It was an incredible event. I brought, 14,000 people down to it?
I don't have numbers yet, but we had 10,000 last year. There had to be 12 to 13,000 this year, but we'll find out. And overall,
It just far outweighs a small.
the amount of money spread through the local community that day, is remarkable. We ourselves as an organization spent nearly $40,000 to local vendors, businesses, community to make that event happen. And so I do hope that we're recognizing the value of that as well.
One of the reasons that we list our Ducky sponsorship as to do what they do is because even some of the stuff is things that I wouldn't have anticipated. In May, there was major construction in North Barstow and business owners felt uninformed and like there was collaboration in large part spearheaded by Decky and signage and business, concerns kind of collated and communicated to the city. Like they played an organization and communication role that I couldn't have even, anticipated saying, this is why we support Decky's existence. So I just want to, point out that it's really the fact that they built us a website or, have a page on their website that communicates things that business owners care about and just their mere existence of fielding phone calls that don't really even apply to Decky, but they're a friendly, voice on the line to direct them to where it does, where that call can find help is also a part of that sponsorship.
Erin, I don't want to make it feel like I'm attacking, I'm not.
No,
I do think
respect you.
it was a very well, I have helped put on that 80th anniversary thing last year. And holy man, just putting on something small like that for ours is like enough work and a lot of time, energy, stress in a much smaller event. So I do appreciate all the energy you put into that. I guess my comments more about I guess we have this board that's gonna help look at, improve different mindsets, we can everyone have a collective opinion in that thing. Whoever can join that, I'd be interested in joining that,
Sure.
to get kind of back, I guess, on.
Jeremy said he's trying.
Selfishly, I don't want to move because it's a very good day
Yeah,
for us.
yeah.
So,
Well, and maybe this is something like, a concern, if we want to bring it to Decky board, and you guys can have a discussion on it and bring it back, I mean.
Well, we are going through, one of the really great things of hiring Kate at this time is that, she's gonna lend some support into the almost like pre-strategic planning for Decky, because we lost a year where we could really be effective. We just kind of had to carry over the current committees and just move on. And so we're gonna be really looking at where we need to develop Decky as an organization and some of our shortfalls. We're in the process for Main Street right now, and we just had our second meeting. It's every month with homework. The first one really talked about board development. It talked about board makeup and what needs to be there, and there's definitely areas we need to improve on. Second one is something else, but we're really learning through this process, and my goal would be by the time we maybe are accredited in Main Street that we have a much better handle of these things. So we're gonna redevelop committees that makes sense now for what we need to focus on. And I would say that it was accumulation of not enough staff. We lost not only our board chair, or Brian Mackey as the committee chair, but we also, our board chair had some very serious health issues and had some return. So we had internal transition amongst already what was going on. So I would say in general, the marketing doesn't go out without people knowing what's on the agenda too. In this case, I would say between Grand Evening and Fall Fest, when Brian left, we weren't able to quickly fill everything. And then this happened. And so again, it's a learning opportunity. And I do respect your opinion, Jeremy, and I almost knew it was coming after I saw the video. I mean, when I first saw it, my gut fell. And again, not because I don't support the message Matt made, but the way he made it, I agree. We have to think much broader than that. And
We all remember too, I mean, the Decky that we know today, I mean, they've only really had this business for a year. And half of it, they were fighting with the city. I mean.
we were just talking.
I mean, not anymore, we're good now.
Talking.
But, I mean, I think they're still learning their branding, they're still learning their, their business. And, I think it's too early to put them off and say that they can't be successful for us.
So I think it's a good idea to bring that section to the whole board, so that we have, meaning the sponsorship section. Basically, what everyone's saying is that the sponsorship's gonna be, you can spend how you want it, do what you want with it. I mean, essentially, we don't have much of a say in it, so,
Sure.
I mean, I think the whole board should
Because
be
I
aware.
like ask full board if we want to
I'm just so they're aware of
media
what that really
ourselves a little bit
means.
more.
Yeah,
make it more-
I mean, I don't,
And I like the way Aaron put that on, mass video and that type of thing. And I think you're gonna have to probably do that maybe in a shorter way with the full board, just recognize that was maybe not appropriate and why it happened. And I think that's what people are sort of looking for.
Sure, yeah.
Recognition from that.
Let's see, we kind of moved forward, I guess, here to this movement. I guess a question, I've been in support of what Decky's doing up there and running it, and then for quite a while, I've spoken on it. I've seen this happen, I've been on the Chippewa Falls bid board for the other people in the room for over 15 years. And we as bid board members, we meet twice a year. We give her half the funds in the spring, the other half in the fall, and we get to discuss then when we're there, what the bid boards are supposed to be for, business improvement. You have the most powerful, educated, best talented business people and building owners in the area. You need to use their abilities to improve the business district, not to prove flower improvements for 2,000 more than it was last year or something. That's irrelevant. You're wasting talent. And I think Aaron, has safety valves built in, to the budget. So she's got the Decky board itself. It was the first report that I've seen sent to me then. The financial report is excellent. It's very thorough. This MOU here, basically has a 30-day out clause. You sign it for a year, it's a 30-day out clause. So I mean, if you don't respond as nicely as you just did now in this particular thing, you can end it and go back to where it was. But in Chippewa, what Decky does, what the counterpart to Decky does there is that I thought it always did, and even with Eau Claire in the early nineties, Dave probably knows, both Daves probably know, is that there was that source there then. And it offers a heart or a soul to the community, and that's what it does in Chippewa Falls. If I have a vacancy in one of my commercial properties, I let them know, and they market it for me. You're hands-on, you're answering phone calls with the road construction, you're on call, you're doing it instantly. It's invaluable. And that I think is worth some money. We don't know what it's gonna be yet. Aaron doesn't know what it's gonna be yet. So I would say that I'd be in favor of presenting this MOU and be open to amendments to it possibly throughout the year. Because if we just keep going where we're gonna come up with something finally worked out, it's gonna be 2-3 years from now because answers aren't known. So the fact we have a 30-day out clause, I can't see regurgitating this thing a lot. I would make a motion to present it to the board at our next meeting.
I think we need to watch through, I agree with you. I think we just need to watch through payment, how that would work, keeping committees, if that's something we want to do. I think there's little changes that.
Do we have a Word document on that so we can redline it or whatever? If we wanted to look at it.
This,
Yeah.
So
Does that
maybe-
come in a Word
yeah, that was in the
document? PDF?
I can get you a Word document if it was probably PDF in the
Can
packet.
you do that? Because I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it.
Nikki and I were hoping to meet after this meeting, but again, it would be with your approval or authority to kind of work through it. So again, it was more of a template for all the bids besides North Barstow with some suggestions of how to do it. So just to fine tune it and gear it towards the programs you actually are planning on doing next year. And then maybe we could present that document to you, like right after we meet, so that you can review the more specifics. But again, maybe a motion to support Nikki doing that with me would be.
and I think, yeah, more importantly, I want to make sure that this gets in front of full board. And we really only have today and next week to work on this.
Got 2 weeks before full board, right?
Yeah, and so if we can get a draft done this afternoon to share with you all, you can, work through it and then.
And then, yes,
Send both of them then? Send the current one and the North Barstow one, and then also the one you guys are working on?
yeah, was that in your packet? You want it? in
He
a
doesn't have to
draft?
packet right now,
Oh,
but,
okay.
you want Word
One
first,
thing-
you just want Word document.
One thing under term I see is that it should be January 1st of 2027. Second page.
What does it say, 26?
Yeah.
Okay.
26, that should be 26.
So before me and Aaron potentially get to work on this, if you guys give approval, just a couple like high points. How do you guys feel about committees? Keeping them?
I'm definitely in favor of keeping committees at least for the first year or two to see how things go.
Okay. I agree with
I'd
that.
be in favor of that. I wouldn't be objectionable to it.
Okay. And then, what was the other one? Okay, so as far as like money, now that we've kind of heard how North Barstow does it, do you have any insight on how you would like? to
I
see
should let
that?
you know quick though, the city actually determined how we can do that. So
okay.
25% is the max amount you could give to us of your total budget.
Okay.
Because that's gonna have to work with other contractors. So Julia didn't set that up, but that's what we're.
And if you don't pre-fund, then you're asking Decky to spend Decky's money and get reimbursed. So we saw, Decky had an issue with that and we saw that is not fair as well.
I don't know that we're talking about giving up our whole budget to them like the North did. It might be sections of it, committees of it.
That is what we
But
did.
I don't believe that we're talking about all of it.
So
Ours-
specifically, would
ours-
you like to keep writing out of it? That's something we can do with this agreement. Now, if there's, opposition to that,
Just makes more work for me, that's all.
Point.
It's just in the line of work.
Good point. I wouldn't have a problem.
How does it make more work for you?
Okay. For lighting specifically, I'm working with Thomas Lee Lighting in 3 of the bids currently, potentially Water Street's looking to do it, so it might be 4. So right now, I'm actually in this exact moment, so he just sent me over the bill for Water Street, because he did banners there, and I know banners is included in your lighting, because it's Tom Sleeps by vendor.
Oh, sure, he's got that.
I know, but
Who did that career?
when he puts up the garland, he puts
He
up the
can-
banners.
He can give you the banners.
This is another great reason why this doesn't work, because Thomas Lee does your banners and your garland at the exact same time. So now we're asking this vendor to separate out the labor for
I
banners,
just affect you.
lighting it. It's just gonna take a minute to get there. So, okay. So then Thomas Lee has to produce 2 invoices, one directed to one group and the other. And then they both get sent over. So it's asking a vendor to do more work for something they don't necessarily have to. But now I'm also working with him in 3 bids. So he's gonna split the cost of the lift that way, right? So he's billing Decky for North Barstow, he's billing Decky for West Grand, and then he's billing the city under South Barstow bid for you, that then has to get approved by you, sent over to Aaron, sent to the city to make sure a purchase order is in. But that's after we get quotes every year or set up the contract, which you've done, great. So I actually had to reach out to Mitch from Green Oasis to get quotes, to be able to have North Barstow work with Thomas Lee on Garland, because they want to match what you're doing. So I made Mitch, another vendor that you're working with, do work. The first email back, he said, isn't that Sean's job? And why am I doing that? Right? And so now I have a vendor relationship that I'm dealing with for South Barstow bid with Mitch that has become uncomfortable, because he knows I'm just asking him to do work so I can hire Sean to do the work he's already done. It becomes problematic not for you.
Nothing to do with us.
It is to do with you.
Because
So
you're doing it for a different day.
why would,
I'm just waiting to see how much more work this.
let's talk about the ladies. Why would Jen want to go through what she just did this year with being almost broke, spending her own money and sourcing money to be able to support your bid, when, and waiting months to get paid out for work already performed, when I could just pay her? She could go get the flowers, do the work, and not feel like she wants to literally run away and quit on you. Like, this is about building consistency across bid board, building vendor relationships that work, supporting local businesses that do good work. All this is doing by you not giving me money is either not trusting that I'm not gonna pay the bill on time, which I would argue we have a better track record, no offense, in the city because of the red tape that they have. As well as maintaining these long-term vendor relationships to get things done. You're gonna see over the course of time, if we continue to work with these same vendors, you're gonna get better output for less cost and more done without you having to stress about it. It will physically take us, I would say, double the admin time to support your bid by doing it this way.
But I, like, just turning to the city staff, do you have, Aaron, like, any insight on, like, North Barstow's kind of sending you receipts of what's been paid versus, like, how is that process going versus, you know, say lighting that goes through the city procurement process? Like, how many touch points does it take? How long does the process take? Like, any comparison on how those 2 are working compared to each other?
I mean, the North Barstow is working a lot smoother. Obviously, it's just, my concern is the whole back end of accounting, reconciling, and having it in the right format moving forward. I still haven't seen a firm process of how that's gonna work and how that's gonna show to, you know, to council, to the bids.
Yeah, which is like great, once a year. We haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
Accounting says they are gonna do it in Excel and not in like the Munis code, and they seem comfortable with it, but we have not seen it because it hasn't happened yet.
But the city staff time too is something really to consider here, because just to get one contract set up and then work done. I mean, it's not just me touching it, the bid chair, the committee chair, and then Aaron has to get it approved at finance, and then even then, sometimes there's rejection that comes back, right? And so, what we're doing is streamlining operations to have a better outcome for both the city and for the downtown. I will work with you to do whatever and implement whatever you would want. I would just say that
if you could give it a shot, like a good old college try, and then we're dissatisfied, then we make adjustments to how we do it in the future. But you won't know the benefit until you experience it, and you can't experience it unless you try it. So,
I think us keeping our chairs, or our chairs, our committees, still gives us a lot of involvement yet.
I haven't heard the extra work, because the contracts are all signed. I get a bill, and I forward it on to the city.
and that's your role. But then Thomas Lee right now, like I said, he just billed me for Water Street, but he billed it under Decky because he's confused about what goes where. So I've now had to reject it. This happened previously before too. So our vendors are confused and it's creating more work for them, which is gonna trickle down to what you're spending.
And I'll go one further. So I've tried to trust him, so
Oh,
I've tried. And so, I mean, just, here's, I know, but it's not necessarily, but I got my contracts all signed for instance, so I don't know how that has worked, but
Did you go out and get 3 quotes before you got your contract signed, or did Becky?
no, I didn't work. And I did get 3 quotes,
Exactly.
and they got approved. How about that?
I don't know how you do that.
That's not the standard.
Magic you do.
And so, anyway, so besides that
I'm just
point,
gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
besides that point, we've been working, you and I,
Yes.
for months and months, trying to look at trees to get them treated. I told you about Matt Stoudemire not doing the treatment process. He probably forwarded you the emails from John, and where are we on that?
So
And we also, the whole committees actually authorized us to potentially get bids on a private tree service treating them. That affects lighting, so.
okay, so first of all, you guys don't actually have a working service agreement with us right now. It ended in May. So you just have sponsorship dollars. So it would be pro bono work that I'm doing for you, and it's not something that I haven't done. I've reached out to Matt, but we've done it. We've also talked about connecting to do trees, and that was right between Grand Evening and Fall Fest, and we're understaffed. This is another way that this is gonna help us, right? Because now we're gonna have Kate as a communication person, and so it not happening for South Part of it, but Water Street recently, like we were able to coordinate a massive landscaping process, banners and mulch, all through the connections Decky had to make it happen swiftly and before homecoming. Something that would be totally impossible if Decky didn't exist. So for you, again, you're a committee chair, we need to figure out the cadence of how Decky responds to requests from the bids. And I have no problem working with you, Dave, and you've got great ideas, but along the same lines, North Barstow, who's paying us to do this, is also asking for new programs and new things happening. And so it's just a matter.
So you don't have enough time or staff time to do all
I would say not until there's a contract in place with money allocated for it and then a system that works for our organization.
What's the $40,000 for them?
20, well, you guys gave us 33,750 for sponsorship for that. So this never was a problem until the city did require that we kind of itemize what we're doing for those dollars. So we kind of put it on paper. We put the cart before the horse and put it on paper in a way to get us the funds, but without a working agreement that actually gives me something concrete that I'm specifically required to do for you because it came in form of sponsorship. We've already spent the 15,000 or 12,000.
Here's the other thing, we don't need to keep rehashing what it is Becky does for us. I sit on the board, I'm actively involved in all the things they do. They're doing the work, and they're probably doing more than the work. They probably haven't even tracked the amount of times that they've had to answer emails from different parts of our bid on top of everything they're already doing. I think this conversation is about working with them and to what capacity, not again about what it is that they're doing. So I would like if we could move on with this in some way. If you want to redline it and bring something to full board that takes lighting out of it, I mean, I would absolutely do that. That's the whole point. It's just that I want to get a document started so that we have something to move forward.
Make a motion that, an MOU is worked on and finalized for the next bid board, full next bid board meeting.
I think that's all we need. You guys feel comfortable with it? Or potential vote?
Who's working on it? you're authorizing Nikki?
Yeah, we should include that in the motion.
To be honest, I mean, I told you guys when I gave my little spiel, like, I'm going to be working on something anyway. The full board gave us, the authority to do that, and I feel like I want to honor that and bring that forward to them.
Work on the draft first to review.
Yeah, nothing gets approved until it goes to full board anyway.
Being on Becky's board, you actually receive the most in the weekend.
Real-time volunteer hours. I got boots on that ground.
She was on the dump tank.
Dave's not gonna take it.
Again, you don't have,
This is not a forever contract.
last
either.
point, I always said like, don't knock it till you try it kind of thing, but you have entrusted me for years. I worked alongside you, as the bid chair, and even though it was an unofficial title, you were my vice chair. We're a good team. We work well together. We get things done. I know you're capable of doing this. When you leave, Dave, I don't see any eager beavers jumping into your seat to do the work you've done. And so what I want to do is set up a plan that will work long-term for the bid so that you guys aren't the only ones having to put in this time. You have put in your time. You've done a great job. Not saying that you need to leave or anything. I'm just saying that we have to envision the board 10 years from now and how they're going to operate and not move backwards, but make sure we can move forward. So you can negotiate those contracts and you do a great job with it, but realistically, what is going to be the easiest, best way to get things done in the future? I'm hoping it's our organization for you. It gives us some stability as an organization, and I think it's a service that Decky provides would go away as we do not have anyone at the city capable of dedicating the time to downtown in the way that we can. And all of us here at this table know how important that is to the broader community. So
We do have a motion sitting on the table.
What is the motion?
Steve? It
The
was-
motion is to work on a final draft of the MOU and present it to the full board at the next bid board meeting for a vote.
Does it go to the exec, to the recommendation, or who's recommending it?
You're just giving me freedom to work on it, so I can send it out to you guys and bring it to the board.
And we can have input back in.
100%.
Do you have a timeframe that you can send, draft one up, send it to us? Do you have
my
time?
goal is this afternoon.
Yeah,
I don't have
I
any more
have time
time.
carved out afterwards to work on it, to be honest with you guys.
I second that.
Can we do that?
Any other discussion?
I have concerns about you sending out drafts and receiving comment back.
Can you do it individually?
So
As
that
long as it's not,
it still would be a discussion that needs to be had with an open door.
so I guess I would say then they could bring their comments to full board.
So we can change the MOU at the full board meeting.
Or we have another exec
We
meeting
should.
next week.
Oh, yeah, or we could have an ad hoc meeting next week if you guys really feel strongly about it, 100%. I just want to make sure that this document gets done.
David,
As soon as we get all these paperwork done, we can consider it.
we could do Tuesday.
If necessary, but you can put it on the calendar, maybe it won't be necessary. I agree with what Aaron says, by the way. I'm a baby steps kind of guy. Not to give you all my money to see what happens with it.
We could
You're
do,
a spender, I'm.
Oh,
That's real.
but remember this, the North Barstow bid, made a motion that basically outlined what kind of permissions are required for different line items. That's why our beautification grants and our sponsorship dollars will never be spent by Decky without board approval.
Is that in the MOU?
That's a motion in our meeting.
Yeah, so ultimately, I can't just go award a beautification grant to any business that applies. I functionally run the program, get the applications in, the board approves the spending.
I haven't read it, so I know that. I didn't
You
get.
can stick around afterwards, you can help us.
No. It's fine.
All right,
I don't think I can help.
is that the end of discussion? Okay,
So
all in
what-
favor?
Who was the
Going
second?
to have another,
Jeremy was the second.
Do you want
is it going back to exec before it goes, or how did we end that conversation?
do you want a meeting next Tuesday? I can attend.
I would have to look at my
Yeah,
schedule.
but after like 11:30, but that's what it, Tuesday.
Do you guys feel very strongly that you want to have another meeting before you finalize on it? Before full board, even though we'd have the opportunity at full board to work on it anyway?
You could also wait to see the draft and then any of you could request a meeting be scheduled at that time.
We just need public notice.
It'll have to be done quickly.
This is a question for the city attorney. If we individually respond back to a draft, that wouldn't be,
That's not a moving
that's
quantum.
not a unicorn.
As long as you're not all in one.
What if they respond to Becky?
That's how we've.
Yep, if Aaron can help coordinate it, that would avoid some of my concern.
So
Aaron
Stephanie
can
recently
respond
made
and
the
reaches out.
statement at our last Barstow meeting that if Jackie facilitates, and again, it won't be a back and forth, but just if Jackie collects the responses without sharing them out.
Well, this is your document, and we are working after it, so.
So I'm 100% believe that this is not gonna be a finalized thing.
No, this
It's
is
gonna
a
be a
template, we're gonna work
Working
through it. Yeah.
template as the year goes on.
Oh,
I think it's just nice to go to full board with the exec on board, you know, rather than, and I think it's just easier. So
Well, we'll let Becky
that's why-
coordinate this one, and then, yeah. But it'll be, you'll see it within the next week, see more finalized copies.
What is the full board, by the way? Can I ask that question? Because I don't think I have it on my calendar.
Next Wednesday?
no, 22nd, and I make a mistake.
Do we get a?
Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I end this motion?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did we all in favor say aye? Any opposed?
Do you want me to send?
Nope, great, motion passed. All right. Thank you guys for that, and I want this to work for all of us. At the
You're on
next
it.
time you give it a chance. and-
The invite was up from
So in the nature of time, let's quickly move, I guess all we've got is just announcements for the rest of this here. Committee updates, Dave, you got anything with lighting?
I'm trying to get somebody to help me treat the damn trees because they're growing and it's causing more work for our people. They're having to replace all the strands because the trees are so growing. They're supposed to have been treated about 3 years ago. John Sable worked forever with Matt Stoudemire, it's not working. They planted many trees. We tried to get them to plant bigger trees. I talked about Bird, he was gonna have something to do with it, nothing was done. So yeah, if Jackie could spearhead this, because I just flat out, I mean, people are trying to help, but nothing is done. And if we have to hire someone to treat these trees, costs a lot of money to replace all these strands on there. And the trees are getting big enough, a lot of them anyway. So I think we really should be treating them. And if the city won't do it, well, then we have to hire. I think that's fair.
There would be a disconnect, because we were approved and agreed, the city agreed to do it, and it just hasn't happened. And now it feels like we're kicking a can down the road. So, we just need someone official to let Matt know that that has to happen, because not
I
listening.
mean, once they structurally pruned, if you remember this, I mean, man got all mad about it, but they came down structurally, pruned it, cut all the lights off, and they were supposed to treat them after that. And it just hasn't happened.
Now, it's my understanding too that like it's too late in the season to do anything with stunting, they're all dead, is that right?
I'm not understanding.
That's-
I would reach out to Lane, and Ty. Actually, because Ty's kind of his right-hand person.
Okay, yeah.
Aaron, what was the?
Once the trees, like, once you have a hard frost, the trees go dormant. They're not gonna grow anymore. So you want that tree to be actively growing and, taking in the water, the nutrients, et cetera, to actually
So
take in that
spray.
So we
inhibitor.
truly
Yeah.
don't need to do this until spring.
Tonight's supposed to be freezing.
Oh.
I'm weirdly excited about it.
I am too.
I'm ready.
Additionally, we have to do it.
Any other updates on that?
On lighting? Yeah, we're under budget again. You know,
Question for you though, so I don't know if you guys have noticed, Matt and I have been going out constantly, even with the zip ties, people are pulling out the thing. I think it would be worth investing in maybe some locks versus the zip ties, because then for us, it would be easier to quickly remedy, because now we have to cut them and we also have quite a few lights that are already dimming, or out. And I'm wondering about, I'd really like to meet with Mitch or go through when they do this service, because I feel like they hire a lot of temp agency workers, and sometimes things aren't getting done and there's no follow-up. So like immediately after, I want to just like that night take photos of what happened, because we have a few trees that were a problem before they came to service and are still a problem. So I'm just kind of
They
like,
would have to rewrap totally.
right, yeah.
And
So they're coming again,
They're gonna do that this fall, yeah.
because they agreed with it.
I have a question, you're under budget, and I heard something about a tree that needs to be left for Christmas. And I'm wondering if maybe this is a conversation you need.
They're gonna, oh, that tree?
Yeah, if you got extra moon.
That go to the whole lighting committee.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, maybe you can speak to it.
Tree
I
on
just
private
know that
property,
it's-
a tree on private property, I'm doubting it.
okay, well, I have to still present it real quick so you're all aware.
Just what happened to the old tree?
Okay, so West Grand is no longer sourcing a 25-foot tree to decorate for the holidays. It's kind of like a welcoming. Decky will still have theirs in Haymarket holiday, or Haymarket Plaza. So, West Grand is buying a 9-foot, 10-foot tree that'll be planted very soon that when it grows, they'll light it, but they're not doing it this year. There's a pine tree that's at least 25 feet tall, probably bigger than that, located at the corner of Lake and Graham, so an entry point into the downtown. It's on private property. It's run by Commonweal. So I've talked to Stuart Schaefer about it. With permission from the property owner, if South Barstow might be interested in decorating that tree every year as a, an entry point into your bid. That's something we could talk about and get quotes for.
That's a day problem.
The other thing I want to mention is that West Grand is moving forward with wrapping garland, lighted garland, just like you guys do, to provide consistency across the bridge and into their district. However, half of the Grand Avenue Bridge is located in South Barstow District. They have taken it on themselves to pay for hanging baskets and the wreaths and lighting the bridge. But they are the smallest bid in the state. Their mill rate is $5.32, and they don't have a lot of extra money. They're curious if South Barstow would be interested in supporting lighting half of the West Grand Avenue Bridge, as it's already in your bid, since they've been doing it for years, out of their
I
own.
mean, wrapping a poles of garland.
What's the dollar amount?
So
There's only
It's a
10,
one-time, it's a one-time expense for the garland, then the town honestly keeps them.
Yeah.
And then it's just a install.
yeah, so the West Grand bid did vote to purchase the garland for all of them, so they're taking on that expense, but they're wondering if moving forward, you'd be willing to take on the maintenance cost for the 5 poles that we lead up to half the bridge. But we can talk about it at committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, let's move on. Landscaping. Landscaping committee. Let's see, we had some, things are looking good. Everything's been pretty great. I wanted to comment, the irrigation issue. I brought that to the board. It was a big old mess. The city did agree to pay, I believe, premium, and then we paid the expense of the hand watering. So the city came to us with, sharing that bill. That is a problem because, moving forward, we need an MOU of who's in control of what, so we don't run into these kind of issues again. That's a conversation that I've got out there, with Stephanie and setting that up, moving into next year. Things like the electrical, when we had a tree hit, an electrical box hit, the irrigation, things like that. But, it was really nice to see, I should say, the city coming forward to that, Dave. So thank you. Other than that, we had some money come in from Adoptive Planner, and we had talked about doing things like little signage, just so don't pee on the flowers. We also talked about getting like some doggy poop bags, because there are a couple beds that are getting hit a lot. And also putting large shrubs in the boulevards, where some of the walkways are. They've been kind of trampled down. So we started doing some of those little projects, I guess kind of sampling them out in different areas to see if they're gonna work. So I think we're gonna fall under budget potentially. We had a couple irrigation things with that whole mess. So, but either way, we're looking good and on point and ready for next.
Do you ever go back to the hanging baskets?
I'd love to.
Gibson on Old Clare Street, at least with
Yeah.
the Pablo and by the hotel and stuff.
I don't know if you guys
Julia
saw.
said she co-sponsored some of those.
We
Oh.
did.
What if some of those hanging pots have thorns in them? Would that do it?
I do want you to know, and I comment on this all the time, but we do have 92,000 currently in our reserves. And I do know that there's categories that are gonna be dropping into that bucket. So we're gonna be sitting somewhere around 6 figures with the reserve balance. And I think we need to start talking projects, so hanging baskets.
Or reduced budget.
Oh, yeah, you're just driving mill rate up, yeah.
Beautification grants, that'd be cool. 3 murals and a facade of
Yeah.
your this year alone.
Entertainment committee?
Not a whole lot. So we're meeting tomorrow, so I have a lot more information there. The converged radio is paid for the year, so next year is gonna be finally January to December, so get that contract and review that, that'd be finally, because if you're looking at the budget for $75 left this year, you can tell, because it was the weird split year, so,
Oh, yeah, you're like 7,500. So that
7,500,
that's
yeah.
dropping into reserves.
yeah. that'll be-
Outreach committee's dropping into reserves.
that'll be-
Dave's extra lighting.
Yeah,
I do have an update if I can share. So if you've noticed, there is no music playing right now, in South Barstow. We had right before Fall Fest, noticed it. I connected Cullen from Converge with, Rod Bonesteel from the city to get into the, Gibson ramp room where the computer is set up. So this computer was provided to us by Audio Architects when we set up the program, and technology wasn't where it is now. And so in order for the music to run on the current system, it needs this computer to work. It's not. So I've reached out to Audio Architects. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. But two other important pieces to note. North Barstow is looking at potentially putting some capital improvement dollars to expand the music sound program into their district. So that's something else I'm working with Audio Architects on. And then the transit center is actually getting a speaker system, talking currently to Audio Architects as well. And there's gonna be conversations about kind of connecting all of these pieces under one house so that they work together, so that we're not hearing, different stuff from different places. So I would say we're not gonna have a ton of answers by tomorrow on exactly what that looks like. But from talking to Cullen, he's certain that there are ways that wirelessly he'll be able to do this, and we no longer need that the room with this old computer running. Convergence getting their office moved into Pablo Center, and so that will be the point of contact. So things are happening. It'll just take a little bit of time to get the music back on. But we'll have the meeting tomorrow and still plan as if it does come on, that we can get the messaging or whatever.
I think that's it for committee updates. Very quickly, I just wanted to give a little parking update. Obviously, we know what's looming. I had sent an email forward. I'm still awaiting a response eagerly, but with the parking being accepted into the paid on-street parking, there was talk of doing like a marketing campaign and really getting information out. And I'm really eager to get that going, and I guess to help out with that in any way I can. I'd rather people know about it than get angry about it at this point. So as soon as we can kind of get that going, I think I might have emailed you and Leah about it.
Yep.
Good things actually with some other stuff. We did learn that the Graham Riverside lot at the end of the month is shutting down the top half, and by March they're shutting down the bottom half. And for our portion of the district is South Barstow, on that end, that is detrimental. So again, having this marketing and really having any information to get out there is really important for me.
Can I ask Dave a question? Dave, on the parking ramp over by RCU, that's what?
That's the Riverside one.
That's the Riverside?
Oh, is that?
Not there, see, that's the.
Yeah, in North Barstow, the new one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe
I
a couple
see.
years ago, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A personal question on that. A week or so ago, I was volunteering as an usher at Pablo Center, and there was no parking around RCU, so I had to go into the ramp because I was running out of time. I pull into the ramp, there's no barriers. I've only been in that ramp twice in its history since it was built, but, so I go in there and I'm parking and I'm like, okay, well, I know I gotta pay something. I didn't get no ticket stub or anything like that. So then I saw the sign that says to go to the kiosk machine or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have any credit cards or coins on me. I had cash, paper money. The machine doesn't take that. So then I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I come back like 3 hours later when the event was over. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I get out? I guess there was no more guard arm or anything like that. So I just drove out. And then the next day I checked online and read on your website that it said something like you had 10 minutes or something to go to the machine and register it. Well, now I've got an app. But you couldn't get the app without a charge card. So I mean, I don't know. I'm waiting for a $30 ticket to come.
So you won't, right now, the only important, so the way it works, and we've been having some technical glitches with the cameras connecting with passport and then connecting with the ticketing. So the way it works is you drive in there, the camera gets your license plate.
Right.
And it doesn't issue you a citation if you leave without paying. It still captures it, but there's a disconnect. So it's not like open road tolling where you're gonna get a bill a month or two down the road from that. But we're working on having it do that. So what it does do is it gathers your license plate when you go in there. Our enforcement people that are out on the streets have that information. And if they drive through there and the LPR picks up your license plate, it'll say Steve Harmon was in here for 2 hours and he didn't pay, and then you would get a ticket.
Right.
But it doesn't do it automatically, but we want to get it so you pull in, you have 10 minutes or less to either pay with the app or pay with the kiosk.
Right.
If you don't, and then it captures your license plate leaving, then you do get that ticket. And you would only get a bill for how long you parked there. And then there'd be an administrative fee on it, like $15 or $20 or whatever that is. We're trying to do it with that parking ramp because they're having the ramp racers in there. And we're hoping that the kids that are going in there with their big mufflers that are this big around a little Honda Civic, start getting bills for being in the ramp. And then it'll discourage them if they get 3 or 4 parking tickets. Well, it wouldn't be citations, but they'd be parking bills with an administrative fee that, would be $20 a time, that they may not be able to register their car if they ignore them. And if they don't ignore them, they're paying $20 down the road. So you got lucky. You could have gotten a ticket on there, but our enforcement position is vacant right now. So we're looking at hiring a new one.
So why did you choose the machines to be coin or credit card and not paper money as well? Is it vandalism or what?
I'm not sure. I know Todd watches the breakdown of what the machines take, in the kiosks and stuff downtown. I know the ones, the arms that went up before used to take cash in those. And I don't know, must have been a low usage rate for cash versus coins or whatnot.
I guess in the beginning phase, until everybody starts learning something, it'd be nice that you got like 24 hours or something like that, because I would have paid the next day if I could have.
Yeah, and like when we unveiled downtown parking, and that was one of the things with the parking study, is to not over enforce and not go for the tickets. And we're not going for tickets, we're going for people to pay for parking in there. So yeah, I think the parking study even recommended giving a forgiveness once every so often on there. So if you get a ticket, you call up and we can forgive it. And then if it happens 6 months later, whatever the time frame was. So
Okay.
unless you're Dave Strobel, then you're gonna get a ticket every time. A different Dave Strobel, not you.
Yeah, another one.
The other Dave Strobel.
Question on Grand Riverside. Closing the whole thing down, what's the plan for that?
That's in worse shape than the Gibson ramp across the street, the big
Yeah.
steel plates. So we have a developer that's interested in doing something with it. We tried, before the transfer center started, we put out kind of feelers to see if a developer would want to redevelop it. And then if we had TID, the city could help with the capital cost of putting parking in it, but the parking would be owned by the developer. It would just have to be open to the public. They could charge, presumably whatever they want, kind of like a toll road. But then the city wouldn't own it, but it would be public parking. And there was a little interest in that. So it's strictly a safety. I don't know if you've been in there lately, but there's a steel plate.
So it's gonna be, we're losing that parking. Where are those contracted parkers going? 'Cause I know
Kind of looking at the transfer center ramp there.
but where's the public parking gonna be? I mean, we're losing a lot of public parking. The transfer center ramp was supposed to be.
I think there's only gonna
Well,
be place.
the Riverside ramp was mostly permit parking, except for off hours on it. So during the daytime, like if you go down there now, it's mostly permits.
Right, but if you put permit parking in the transfer center, doesn't that take away from the promised public parking? That's my question.
I don't know the total numbers on it, but
There's not even, I don't think, a direct correlation. I mean, there's 150 at Grand Riverside, and I think there's only gonna be 50 available outside of apartments.
And there was 3
So that, I mean, we're
spots
still
outside the
losing.
transfer center in front of Miss Kitty Cat store, right?
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
So Tom was at the last meeting and mentioned that Schlegel mulch will be an option at some point as long as it's not developed. The only issue is they're not able to open up the second half of Schlegel mulch where the temporary transit center is, because at some point when the roof gets put on the transit center, they'll have to revert back to using the temporary transit center for a portion of time. So it's still kind of up in the air. I know. You couldn't make this up.
Your own private lot though, it's good.
Yeah.
Cush down there. Should step in our.
Next, yeah, I was gonna tell you, next time you volunteer.
There's
at the
lots of
pop-up,
open spots on the street too.
Struggle.
I almost hit his number. Hey,
Yeah,
Dave, can I park in the back of your lot?
Look, if there's.
How many people become my friends when they gotta go to a show?
And look, if there's, if there's available parking that will satisfy this, it's just, again, gonna be about educating these
Yeah.
people on where are their next close options. But yeah, I don't know, I was down here for years without knowing where the heck I was supposed to park, so I can, I can feel that sentiment, I guess.
CFO, we have here, I don't know if it's one meeting, but one thing that Todd didn't have an answer to or said that he was, not aware of was the discussion about potentially opening the top level of the Galloway ramp for either discounted or free parking for part-time employees downtown.
Yeah, we'll have, when I was, the parking, study recommends having something for the lower cost on there. So I was originally, going into it, I was looking at, seeing how much, we give transit passes right now. They started giving them free, but now transit passes are sponsored. So to keep the money coming in there, what I was hoping for was the on-street parking to see what's coming in, if that can help offset
Sure.
the cost of that for there.
Okay.
But now paid parking doesn't start till June, and I would like to do something earlier. So I don't know what that looks like
Sure.
for the Gibson ramp and the Barstow ramp, but it's something. That, and then getting the short-term loading zones, working with the businesses to get those in whatever they're branded as, done before June 1st.
Okay.
But I don't know what that looks like, if it's like a discounted pass or free or top floor only in certain spots. But there is something that we do want to do something for those
Okay, we just wanted
employees that
to
are.
have a conversation with Sullivan because he didn't seem to
In
know
the,
anything about it.
in the
so-
meantime, there's no, and it's a little bit of a walk here in North Barstow, but there's no plans in 2026 to charge anything for Schlegel milks. That's gonna stay free over there, so.
Any plans for vehicles that don't fit ramps? Such as my truck. Capacity.
Bike.
Yeah. Well, you got the Main Street lot, there's contract, and I don't know how big a vehicle you have, but the Main Street lot is surface parking.
Seaver Street lot, surface.
Seaver
park.
Street, Schlegel Mill.
That's right.
Even the Forest Street lot in North Park, it's a little bit of a walk across Madison Street, by the Forest Street in there.
So either a lot of walking or paid to.
So,
It's downtown like Edgewood.
yeah,
Yeah.
big trucks are just hard to fit in ramps. They're,
Yes, they are.
especially if they're tall too, because you have a,
That's the problem, is that's what I need for drivers, so it's not that I chose it, so yeah.
We're gonna wrap up. I got one last announcement, just to put some feelers out for you guys, but board seats. We're coming up on, we've got Rita, Jill, Dave Strobel, Stu Schaefer. And I want you to know I reached out to Rita. She's already planning on sticking around, so we got her for another 3 years. And I won't be on the spot, but we also, this is a temporary seat for you with Exec. So talk to him, make sure that's still the case, unless he really wants to stick around, but anyway, we're gonna have some open seats, so if you guys have anybody you wanna.
Well, are they gonna be open or are they gonna be people wanna re-up? So I guess that's the question.
Oh,
Reach out
right.
to everybody to see if they're interested.
Absolutely, yes. So Rita for sure. So right now it's just you, Stuart, and Jill.
And I assume Jill will.
And Jill was only on for a year. She filled in a previous seat. So yeah.
Yeah, you already filled in.
What did you just say?
Capture
that.
that.
Yeah, video still recording. Okay, on that note, we're gonna end this. Meeting adjourned.
Well, aren't you gonna make an announcement? There's a big announcement to make.
What is it?
So I have the.
I'm like,